Mike Pachelli here. Thanks for tuning into this video. I'll be talking about Nowhere Man, as recorded by the Beatles in October of 1965. Now, early in the fall of '65, the Beatles were working on songs for what would become their Rubber Soul album. John Lennon was trying to write a song and wasn't coming up with anything, so he decided to take a nap. He laid down and thought, man, I'm getting nowhere, and voila! Floodgates were open and the lyrics came pouring out. But later he said he wrote the song about his failing marriage, so we'll never know for sure. We do know that John Lennon's original handwritten lyrics were auctioned at Christie's of New York for $455,000. Whew. Okay, so they go in the studio on October 21st, and with the usual lineup of electric guitars, bass, and drums, they work on Nowhere Man, but nothing that they decide to keep. They're back in the studio on the next day, October 22nd, and they try a new rhythm track approach. This time with John on acoustic, Paul on bass, Ringo on drums, and George Harrison sitting it out. And that trio works on the rhythm track for 4 hours, and they decide that take 4 is the best. Now, fun facts to know and tell, if you listen very closely to the final mix, after John says the word missin', about 38 seconds in, you can hear a high-pitched squeal. And my guesstimation is that John's playing rhythm guitar and there's some leakage from his headphones if he bends too close to the microphone, and that leakage caused a squeal and he probably jumped back. And it's kind of a cool, Beatle tidbit that I'll probably stick in my sound alike, well, because I'm that kind of wackadoodle. All right, so take 4 is the keeper, and it was time for John to overdub his lead vocals. He double tracked some of them, and then they overdubbed their background vocals, and they double tracked that. And George Harrison plays all that great riffage. He overdubs those. Then they do the a cappella section, right? Now, another kind of cool thing about the a cappella section is that it's slightly out of tune with the final rhythm track. And that's probably because they were playing for hours, and I'm guessing that John had to retune his guitar a little bit, because guitars go out of tune when you play, and he tuned his E chord a little differently, and that was probably what they used to sing the a cappella section. So when they spliced the a cappella section onto the take 4, it's a little out of tune with the track that had been recorded earlier. All right, also onto take 4, they overdubbed the lead guitar solo, which was played by John and George simultaneously, and I'll talk more about that when I teach the solo section. They do the mono mix on October 25th, and it's another crappy mix by George Martin, Norman Smith, and Ken Scott, where bass is kind of buried and the instruments are too low and the vocals are too loud. There are better remixes that you could find if you'd like to hear the song a little clearer. Nowhere Man doesn't even end up appearing on the US Capitol release of Rubber Soul. It was, of course, on the UK release of Rubber Soul that came out in December of '65. In America, it was released as a 45, and it didn't come out on an album until June of '66. The album was called Yesterday and Today. The Beatles played Nowhere Man quite a bit live. They did it on their very last British tour. They did it during the New Musical Express Poll Winners All-Star Concert. They played it during their international tour of '66, and they also played Nowhere Man on the final American tour in 1966. So got a lot of live play, because it's just such a great song to play and sing. I think that's the backstory, so let's get started. John Lennon is playing his Gibson J160E on Nowhere Man, and it's capoed at the 2nd fret. And in case you don't know, a capo on the 2nd fret makes the guitar sound a whole step higher than the chord you're playing. So if you voice a D chord, it's actually sounding an E chord, and the song is in the key of E. So to play Nowhere Man, you'll need these chords, and I'm going to call it out the way they look rather than the way they sound. So you'll need this D chord, you'll need an A chord, G, you'll need an E minor 7th, and a G minor. Now, when John first starts, he comes in on the 4th measure on the end of 4. Excuse me. So they're singing, and it's Nowhere Man, 1, 2, 3, 4. He plays on the end of 4, an E minor 7th. And then the chords for the next 4 measures, the rhythm is just 1, 2, 3, and 4 for every measure. So after that E minor 7th, got that? Nice and easy. Let's do it with the metronome. Do 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 do, ba da bing bang bing bong bing. Thank you, Ringo. And as of note, he's very clean on his chords. You know, I've talked about this in previous lessons where when John is switching a chord, a lot of time there's a lot of open strings in between the changing the chords, but not so much on Nowhere Man because he's playing, you know, as a trio. You know, just him, Ringo, and Paul. So John is really under the electron microscope. Okay, during the verse, the rhythm varies just a little bit. The first measure is again 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, when he plays this A, there's some anticipation. It's 1, 2, and 3. So you got first 2 measures of the verse. Now, here's where he does a little sort of sloppiness. He gets to the G chord earlier. He gets to it on the and of 4 of the second measure before he plays straight 8th notes. So it's like this. And as of note, on that G chord, the accents are on the upbeat, and that's probably why he anticipated the G. So again, I'll try to accent it even more to highlight it. It's like... And then E minor 7th, really clean, stops on 4. To the G minor, and back to 8th notes of D. Again, John trying to be really precise. So let me try to play a verse with Ringo. Thank you, buddy. Verse 2, 3, 4. And he pretty much plays that on every single verse. It's like he had his rhythm part worked out precisely what he wanted to do. It's not as loose and playful as a lot of John Lennon rhythms, but you know, completely efficient and works great. Okay, on the bridge, you'll need what we'll call an F sharp minor to another G, but voiced as a bar chord. Back down and E minor to A. Now on the bridge, the rhythm starts off on the first measure. It's 1 and 2, 3, 4, played very hard, you know, very accent-like. And then 8th notes on the G chord and continues. So it's like. Down to the E minor 7th. So a bridge with proper tempo, which is around 122. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, that's pretty much what he plays on every single bridge. The only difference is that when they repeat it 3 times at the end, making all nowhere plans, he stops on 4 on the E minor 7th. So it's like and he does that 3 times. So the last 3 again is 2, 3, 4. super duper clean playing by John Lennon on Nowhere Man. And now you know how to do it too. George Harrison is playing his Fender Sonic Blue Stratocaster on Nowhere Man. And the first time you hear any of these overdubbed riffs and fills is 8 measures into the song, where he plays the, what's the signature riff, but he plays it differently the first time. The very first time it's like this. So it's like he plays a B minor triad, which is B, D, and F sharp. But it's actually an E chord. It's actually an E9 chord, because that would be of E. The B is the 5th, the D is the 7th, and the F sharp is the 9th of E. It's like, almost like this chord. That chord. But voice down here. So it's that little B minor triad to A, G sharp, E, B. And that's the only time he uses that voicing. On the 8th measure of verse 2, he plays just like a normal E triad, E, G sharp, B. And the ending of it is the same, A, G sharp, E, B. So. Right? And then he doesn't play anything on the bridge, and next is the solo, which I'll talk about momentarily. Then after the 3rd verse, same little riffage fill on like an E triad. Okay, then the bridge happens, and at the end of the bridge, on the 7th measure of the bridge, he starts on beat 4 with a little, like a B power chord, like root 5th of B. But when it's coming from, let's see so you can hear it. Da, 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 1, 2, 3. And a quick E note. So it's on the 4th beat, just 8th notes. So da, 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of just builds it up in volume. Okay? At the end of verse 3, it's the same E kind of riffage. Okay, now on bridge 3, instead of starting on the 4th beat, he starts on beat 1, but just plays B notes and then the power chord. So like from the G sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a quick E. All right, you got that? And see, so the ending of verse 4 is the end of the song. It goes back to the original. And then he's gonna do some walk-ups. So the very first time when he hits that E, he slides from E to F sharp. Then he plays an A. Then he plays a B. Then he plays again. But he doesn't slide to the F sharp this time. He plays it straight on. And finishes with a normal riff. So those last 3 things, let me see. So from and those are all the riffs that George Harrison plays in Nowhere Man. George and John both play Sonic Blue Stratocasters for the solo in Nowhere Man, and they play at the same time. Very similar. To my ears, it sounds like they're playing through small box amplifiers, like maybe an AC4 or an AC10, probably 2 of them with 1 mic in the middle. And it sounds like George is on the bridge pickup and John is on the rhythm pickup. They also ran the signal through their mixing console 3 times to get it really trebly like they wanted, and it's pretty heavily compressed too. I'm using 2 1957 Gibson GA5 amplifiers. It's going through an RC booster with a lot of treble, also through a universal audio aux mixer with a lot of treble, and more treble on my mixing console going into Pro Tools so that I could have triple treble like they did. Okay, it's pretty simple, and again, there's only 3-note difference between George and John's part. It's based on an E chord, so you play a 4-string E chord like this. Now, George plays on beat 4, an open B of the first measure. John does not. And then the figure is like a B chord. You're going to end up on a 3-string B chord. But you play the low strings first, the inside second, third, and fourth strings, and an open E to a F sharp. Right? So we got. Then they strum an A chord. George plays on beat 4, another A, and then a little E interval, an E and a G sharp. Now they play a little different here. George voices a 3-note F sharp minor like this. But John is just playing 2 notes. And then they both play 2 notes for the A minor. And they play, slide down from the 7th fret. And only George plays that 5th harmonic on the 5th fret. Which is a little easier if you pick it up too with your middle finger. So the only 2, again, 3 notes different. John doesn't play on beat 4 of the first measure, and he doesn't play on beat 4 of the 3rd measure, and he doesn't play that last 5th fret harmonic. Great little solo, right? Charts and tabs at MikePachelli.com if you want to see exactly how they both played. Okay, so I put it all together in a sound-alike so you can see how all the parts fit together, so let's check this out.
He's a real nowhere man, sitting in his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans for nobody. Doesn't have a point of view, knows not where he's going to. Isn't he a bit like you and me? Nowhere man, please listen. You don't know what you're missing. Nowhere man, the world is at your command. He's as blind as he can be, just sees what he wants to see. Nowhere man, can you see me at all? Nowhere man, don't worry, take your time, don't hurry, leave it all till somebody else lends you a hand. Doesn't have a point of view, knows not where he's going to. Isn't he a bit like you and me? Nowhere man, please listen. You don't know what you're missing. Nowhere man, the world is at your command. He's a real nowhere man, sitting in his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans for nobody. Making all his nowhere plans for nobody. Making all his nowhere plans for nobody.
Well, I certainly hope you enjoyed that, and I suggest you learn all the parts, play along with my sound-alike, and you'll get it just like the Beatles. If you'd like to drop me a line, do so at mikepachelli.com. That's where the charts and tabs are for all my video lessons. And if you would be so kind, please subscribe to this channel. So until next time, I'm Mike Pachelli. Thanks for hanging out with me.
He's a real nowhere man, sitting in his nowhere.